is ranked, Liberia is ranked the poorest country. So they're the best candidates for game B, like seeds. So I'm starting to see where maybe we can start getting Liberians in a mass scale onboarded and see if they can manage their commons in some of the toughest neighborhoods, slums in that region. So yeah, trying to use the zeitgeist to also learn more about seeds or put it into a good context.
Thank you. I love that, what you shared, and amen to that. And that's beautiful, because today we're going to be working a bit with moral compass. So I think that's perfect, your comments.
Yeah, I'm routinely inspired by the synchronicity of all of this coming together right when the circus of the most politicized nation state goes through their yeah, we'll leave it at that. So what I'm going to do is I'll introduce Anneloes. For those of you here on the call a couple of weeks ago, she had introduced the call that time, and it was incredibly beautiful. So I'd asked her to come back and actually facilitate today's entire call. So yeah, with no other introduction other than Anneloes has been working on whole systems change and thrivability, and basically how we can design the pathways to create a regenerative civilization, or beyond regeneration, which is thrivable. So regeneration is the process we need to go through now, but the outcome is a thriving civilization. And I think that's the context she always holds so dear, and it's what I love so much about everything she speaks to. So without further ado, I will pass it over to the beautiful and incredibly inspiring Anneloes.
Thank you so much, and we'll be facilitating this together. And with all of you together, of course, as well, because it was beautiful. And right now we're working a little bit on the Constitution earlier, and I saw that Article 11 was kept blank, but with lots of your, wonderful input there. And so I was sharing with him that in many of the Gnostic traditions, 11 is always the doorway to the hidden knowledge. 11 always represents, for those who are familiar with the Kabbalah, it's the Dat, it's that what we don't see yet, but so it's a through way to the wisdom. It's the through way into the invisible. It also connects us to the larger picture, the bigger understanding. And so many of the inputs that you've all given there were precisely about that. So this is what's so beautiful about this community, the way we're all working here together, is that by not forcing things, by not controlling the process, the intelligence and the wisdom and the genius of seeds itself and the community opens up. So this is, to me, is really key about the process of emergence. And this is where this constitution is just so different from almost every constitution out there, is that this constitution, it breathes, it lives, it's embodied, it's within the spirit of who we feel we are together, and also the kind of world that we want to be building together and leaving for the children and for nature itself. So, this is constitutional work is really, it's sacred work. And I said that also the first time. So it's important as well is that when we are inviting people to later amend or change, and right now worked on that as well, that it's done in that spirit, that you first understand, what is the spirit of the Constitution. And this actually applies also in law. I mean, my formal background was actually in law. That's how it started. And then I felt that the sacred law wasn't there at all. So I went into the journey of the indigenous wisdom. But even in some constitutional change processes, in the most legal formal settings, one has to ask, what's the spirit of that article? What's this? What was really intended there? What is it meaning to serve? So that people are not just going to commit random changes. And that's something quite magical about constitutions. When a constitution truly becomes a living constitution, even those from the constitutions of our nation states, even though we feel that many of them are outdated, but at that time they served a purpose. And what you do find then is that there is something of a deeper intelligence that is at work there. That if we really listen to that, it really informs us. So constitution making, what we're all doing here, is also a way of working on who are we together and what is our moral compasses. We're going to be working deeply with that. What are really our values? And how you're working on legacy building. You're working on setting foundations for how can this constitution serve as, and that's hence the moral compass, as a guideline for everything else that we want to be developing together. But constitutions are especially important in the times when things are difficult. So it needs to be able to give enough clarity and guidance. And then it becomes a living moral compass for, what do we do when there's conflict? What do we do when there's a lot of uncertainty? What do we do when there are a lot of shadow dynamics at play? Or what do we do when there is pain and there's fear? And so how then is the constitution itself becomes also a document whereby when we look at it, it reminds us really again of what is important here. What are our priorities and what are the values that can stand the test of time? And in that, you consider that in the constitution, it always has elements that are universal and we could even say eternal. And when you're working with those aspects of your constitution, you are in cosmic law. And a constitution has also aspects that are part of the constant processes of change. And this is when we work with natural law. So you see how they are both coming together. They are marrying the more absolute universal as well as the relative dimensions. And this is where I want to remind us again as a community that what we are pioneering here is truly quite unique. And it sets up a whole new pattern of architecting this new civilization, as well as the transition towards that civilization. So there's a couple of things we want to be doing together for today's session. One is that we'd love to really call upon our collective genius here to clarify Article 5. And then the moral compass, and Article 4. So Article 4, Article 5, I'll do a screen share a little bit later with all of you. So we're going to be working on the moral compass, our core values. And then also Article 11, which at the moment we've just named that as our collective wisdom. So for Article 11 having been left blank and open, we can think of that in terms of when seeds as an ecosystem starts really becoming that ecosystem, then it will also itself as a community generate ecosystem services, just like a wonderful forest does. So in the Article 11, the spirit of that can also be how this community itself starts generating wisdom, starts generating clarity, starts becoming for other people like a moral compass, starts becoming like a true North Star, so that people start to see, another way is possible. And I'm part of that other way. And that will then evoke, and this is quite important, the moral will. Because there are a lot of documents with all kinds of guidelines and charters, etc. But they don't necessarily evoke the passion for the possible. So it's also important that this, as a living community, keeps that document, the spirit of that document alive. And that then Article 11 is a reminder, therefore, of what is the collective wisdom that is being generated by the collective intelligence, and how is this constitution able to cohere, facilitate, and make that possible? And how is that then flowing out into the world in such a way that it becomes value to the earth herself, to the future generations, and to everything that we stand for together. So as a little bit of a structure for today, what I'd love to guide you all through first is again a little meditation, about 5-10 minutes. And then we will be going into the breakout groups to be working on the moral compass. Then after that, we will work on the other few articles where we would like your input on. And so for this meditation, I'll tell you a little bit of what we're going to go through, and then guide you to close your eyes, is that we're going to be experiencing this constitution as if it has already been done and finished. So we're going to really go into the future, where now we are experiencing the optimum expression, the optimum template of this constitution, and hold it in our hands. And by really then feeling that and envisioning that, and experiencing this constitution as having finished, having completed for this stage, because of course it will evolve, we can then sense into what are the patterns, what are the codes, what are the words, what is its vibration, how does it breathe, how does it feel in my body, how does it express itself. And then we'll go back to the text and say, is there something missing? Because then each of you are going to experience this beautiful constitution in its optimum form, and then being able to look at the text and say, okay, this needs to be refined, or that's not yet there, because that's also the purpose of this session. That if you feel something is missing, something needs to be better expressed, something needs to be clarified or simplified, then this is the chance to do that. So Reiki, how does that feel? Was there anything else you wanted to add, or are you happy? Great. Then we go into the meditation now, and then I'll ask everyone to mute themselves if you're not yet muted. Make yourself comfortable. If you are driving right now and listening, then you might want to do this meditation later. Don't close your eyes, just receive the spirit of it. And for all of you who are safely seated, just find a good posture. If you want to close your eyes, you're free to do so. You can also just gaze in front. You're free to do what you want. I will close my eyes because then I can go more deeply. So let's start by taking a deep breath in and getting fully present to your body, to your whole self, and to this present moment here together. And in a spirit of gratitude and appreciation for all the work we've already done together and everything that's made it possible. And let us send that wave of gratitude and appreciation to each other here as a community, and to anyone who's be listening later as well. Let's just start our session with that beautiful gratitude and appreciation, which is so much in the essence of seeds. And receive also that gratitude that is circling around now. Very good. And we're going to take that even deeper and really feel now these values. These core values of seeds. And notice how each of those values are also a currency. And start giving those currencies also, your value currencies, to this community. And feel these beautiful values, our seeds values, that are aligned with your personal values, energizing this community and energizing your life, and even regenerating any areas within your life or within our community or our world that may have felt depleted or degraded. Really see now how seeds is not just a regenerative currency, it is also a value currency. How we invest in our future, in our world, in our wellness, with our values. And how those values guide our behavior. And as we circulate those beautiful values, we're creating more credit. We're creating more wellness and prosperity of really good values, of a really healthy, thriving culture. And now notice how those values, those seeds values that are also within this living constitution, see them transform now in your hands into a compass. Hold those values now transformed as a compass. And this wonderful compass is given to you for guiding your decisions, for guiding your focus, for guiding your investment, even your dreams, your aspirations. And this is the moral compass of seeds. And just feel how this moral compass of seeds, it has a heartbeat, it has a pulse. It's life that's pulsing. It's beauty, it's love, it's generosity, it's wisdom in and through us, and is fully alive within this moral compass. So that when you connect with this moral compass of seeds, you naturally know how to make the right decisions for the wellness of all life, inclusive of the future generations, inclusive of our beautiful diversity. And feel now how this moral compass has within it as well the ancient wisdoms of all of our ancestors who were stewards of our planet long before us, as well as the future wisdom of all who are coming after us. And as you hold this moral compass in your heart, may this wisdom support you in your life. Feel how it infuses your life with this beautiful wisdom. How you yourself become like a moral compass as well for this transition to a new civilization. And now feel your hands once more and notice how this moral compass is now transforming into the whole constitution. And hold now in your hands this seed's constitution. And it's the seed's constitution of its optimum template, its greatest intelligence and deepest wisdom, It's the seed's constitution that in the future we will recognize, yes, this is an incredible document. This is it. These are our foundations. And feel that constitution alive in your hands. And as it connects with you, it also connects with your inner wisdom, your intelligence. And you might even be updating it as you're meeting each other as good friends. And this constitution also has within it the wisdom and intelligence of the future generations. And this constitution thanks you now, because you are also a steward for this constitution. You are part of the founding members of this constitution. And feel the gratitude of the future generations who will be building on this constitution for your work and role within this. And as this constitution is alive, it has its own intelligence, its own essence. It now informs you of whatever it is that it wants you to know, so that you can serve its formation in its right role. And just listen to it now. Listen to it as a good friend. If there is anything this constitution wants to tell you, just listen and let yourself receive its message now. And let it know as well how you, as a good friend, will care for this constitution. How you will apply it, keep it alive and healthy, and support it to evolve in the right way. Very good. And with that, we are ready for our next steps of work together. So when you feel ready to come out of this meditation, you may gently open your eyes, fully present here and now, moving your feet, your hands, your shoulders, taking another deep breath, being fully present in your body and connected with your whole self. With full access to your abilities to serve in the right way. There you are. Good. So I'd love is for any of you who feel inspired to write a little bit. If you can write a few words in the chat of really the key takeaway for you for this from this meditation, and any message that you feel the Constitution shared with you that are important for us to know?
Anneloes, do we want to do a breakout session? Or actually all of us, do we want to do a breakout session and share in groups of 3 to 4 what we were tapping into just there, and then come back and do the same thing we did last call? Yeah? Maybe like thumbs up if we want to do that, or thumb sideways if we just want to stay together in the group. All right.
I think you need to do both.
We got a lot of thumbs sideways, so let's stay
Just
together in the
here
group.
then.
Yeah.
Let me
So then
stay
if you
here.
want to share something, then just share it into the chat and we'll keep flowing here.
And maybe we can maybe just give 5 minutes for some voices, and then we can go into the writing of the moral compass. What do you think? Somebody wants to share.
Well, I'm not quite sure exactly where I went, but there was a great returning light that just like, I don't know where it came from, but just before, and I don't even know what you said, but after the light came back in, all of a sudden I heard Anneloes' voice saying, you know, now we're back.
Magical. That's great.
I think a big thing that rose up for me is we're cosmic citizens. We are stewards of this planet, and by taking care of this planet, we help ensure balance throughout our solar system and our cosmos.
To build on that, I was focusing on the that shift, right? A lot of nation state things coming out in this group where like the Constitution's written in British English, and you know, we've got a good mix of everybody around, and then that meditation, the German accent. And so in me, it just kept on highlighting this move away from the nation state construct into a more strategic and global community. And just thinking about how this app can, you know, transcend language and culture and give a decision-making matrix to anybody.
I love how it comes from the moral compass and goes back to the moral compass. I'm sitting in my car taking my kids to school, and it will start from and go to that concept. That's the truth of regeneration, is that first it starts with the generation. It starts with the creation from a core value, and all points can come back to that original hub. And I love how that focus, that key point, seems to be what is constructing the actual document, that we can always go back to. Are these decisions, are these words, are these actions reaching from and going back to a compass of who we want to be, and that it's alive. But it's also sure, it's going to be written down as a constructed, systematic methodology, a map of how to walk in this, which I am super excited to help build and construct the particular points. But I just want to point out that compass of value where we're coming from. And it's so good to be with you guys.
What I got in the meditation was it needed to have a full integration of the male and female values.
I got also I really resonated with the words that say to tune in to the future generations that are grateful for what we're doing now. And I saw this great light, and it was so like thankful, and it reminded me that this is really something important that we're doing. It's like amazing.
I really love how there was a saying about how true values create value. because I believe that if we have values that are in alignment with the universal principles of love, that they create like this riverbed that the water and the currency of the money can just flow and create healthy life from.
Yeah, so for me, two very important things popped up. So the first is the sacredness of what we are trying to honor the best we can with our human defects and traumas, and but it gave me a sense of spacious and time, that we should give ourselves time and space to do it with this depth. That was very profound in me. And the second thing is that we are regenerating through universal human values the best we can. And that would be a compass. And the idea that we are honoring this compass for future generations is really, really powerful. So honoring this and rescuing the values of the true human universal, they seem very powerful. You know?
To me, I couldn't help but feeling the sun in my face and watching the grass grow in the mud here, and gave me a sense of really appreciating what we have and the species around us, even if we could be too much in our head sometimes.
Yeah, personally, I felt a great feeling of joy and gratefulness as the wording throughout the values of that constitution totally supports the movement that is being created in reaching a critical mass within the deadline of 2026 that is shared by all original traditions, to finally enter the period of evolution rather than revolution. So I really felt and heard that gratefulness and joy from the universe. We are doing something very tangible to get to that deadline in the right state of mind. So thank you for that. Thank you to all of you.
That's Lucille. Oh, that's who I want. That's who he looks like, huh?
There's a lot of static, yes. Okay, now it's better. Reiki, what do you think? I think this is wonderful. Thank you so much, everyone. It's really insightful. Yes. Maybe now is the time then with this, that we work a little bit on the text of the moral compass. What is your sense? Oh, you're muted. There you go. Oh, you still have this static.
I was on a call with Reiki an hour ago, and his internet was doing on and off. So he may be back, but his audio may be broken for a little bit.
That might be it. Okay, I think he's beaming in from the universe. Technology hasn't caught up yet. Okay, Reiki, what I'll do is I'll do a screen share. And then you can always write it into the chat. We do the text after the call. Yes, okay. Just a thumbs up if you feel, how you feel about just that. Just trying to read about here. Share about article 11 and do another wisdom sharing for it. Okay. I'm going to just bring up a screen share from what we're working on. Because I do feel that now that all of you have so beautifully experienced the essence of the moral compass and the values, I think it's good to see if you feel that these words also really express that for you, and if you feel anything is missing. So the idea is that we'll make more of a description first of what do we mean by moral compass. So that description is not yet here. Now it just reads key definitions, but it's first about what do we understand a moral compass is, how do we keep it alive, what is its purpose. And then the moral compass consists of values, which set also then how we prioritize. And then also it sets how do we now implement it. So all of that is part of your moral compass. So what I'm suggesting is that we'll do a 10 minutes breakout group in small groups, and where we're just going to see whether those are the key values. Many values have, of course, sub-values, but what then maybe, Reiki, what you could do is once you make the groups, if you can send this as a text to everyone, so where that everyone can just see our values, and that then in every group, if you can work on for about 10 minutes, how you feel about these being the key values, or if there is anything missing, or what you want to add. Yeah, and then we come back and we harvest that wisdom. And I wonder if there's even a Google Doc where people can write their suggestions, otherwise just in the chat itself. So just see what's the best way for that. So I'll go into a stop share. And then when we come back from that, if there's time enough left, we can work on article 11 as well. Okay, there we go. I'll see you in the breakout room.
There's a room for both of you to join. However, if you guys are here, then well, it's because they're not actually here.
Oh.
Unless you are. Can any of you hear me? Yeah. Oh, yep.
So where do we go?
We're going to the other rooms. We go right here. So you wanted to add authenticity. Let's look at it.
Oh, let's join a room.
Join a room.
Go in this one, room 3.
In a situation like this,
Hi, right.
where what we have in the world today, what's going on. Hi. My main concern is like the reason why something like Bitcoin has managed to survive, if you will, in this in this world is because it's literally like you really can't stop it because it's that decentralized. But I'm like, the idea of creating regenerative societies and a currency around it has like what I'm worried is won't like it, then that, you know, it's much easier to shut it down, because even if it runs as a decentralized currency, it will still be centralized in the physical locations that participate in it, right? And I was thinking if there's some kind of safeguard for that. That was my main something that I wanted to add. If that's
Hear me, I would personally invite you to join our Discord, and I'll answer that a little bit more at length, because it's something that we are intimately connected with, and how we can decentralize this at the very foundation from technology on up. So yeah, that's kind of a longer conversation, but something that we're extremely passionate about, and something that's incredibly necessary if this is going to be able to have the change that we're seeking. So
Right.
we could put it into words in the Constitution, and that's actually, it's interesting that you're bringing this up, because it is part of Article 11, which is about that collective wisdom and being able to safeguard that. So a lot of that
Right.
is, you know, our principles for decentralization, and putting in an article to say we're not going to change any of the protocols that would move towards any sort of centralization, and make sure all our protocols are constantly moving towards further decentralization of the system.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, like, since the goal is to like supersede or replace the financial system that's governed today, like the people that are in that system, that run that system, have power, so they're not interested in that, so they're going to try to use their power to, yeah. But I think I'm just running circles there. Let's take it in the Discord. Yeah, and as I said to friends, I haven't I only discovered seeds a couple of days ago, so I'm still getting like examining. I'm still examining everything, so I haven't even read through the document and such. But I saw the opportunity to participate here and figured I would grab that. Yeah.
Well, I will, for one, say beautiful seeing you here. I'm going to keep jumping to the other breakout rooms so that we can record a little bit of all of them. So love you all. Franz, Ron, you guys are incredible, and I will talk to you both soon. Alexander, I'll see you in Discord, and we can keep this going.
Cheers. Ciao.
The truth, you know, and so there may be very, you know, people may say, oh, that's not the truth, but the truth is like a straight line, you know. And so when people say, you know, that's how all of these bloody politicians manage to confuse it, is by, oh, your truth, my truth, this truth, that truth, you know. But the truth is the truth, you know, and that's it. So I think truth is very important.
And for the record, truth and integrity are not synonyms in English. So they are different in terms of the English language. They are different words.
Yeah. What else was I thinking?
I mean, that's a hard stance to say, but I've seen populations where like, hey, you guys might want to stand up against these people, you know.
So I think that these two things could play along, because I was dwelling with the word moral. So I think we are searching more for the ethos of that, rather than a sense of imposition that the word might mean, right, and meant in the past. So eventually searching for that ethos would be great. And if we do believe that there's a set of values that are universal, which is this guy proposition, I do believe on those values, looking into those, then saying, okay, these are the values we believe are universal, and these are the ones that we think serve us best, and those three things, and we are trying to figure out a compass that would help us more on the dynamics rather than a static thing to guide us through. That would be great, a great step contribution, if I got your points right.
Yes.
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah. Ricky is joined, yeah. But
You
see
just
what you
said
wanted to say?
something?
The reason why
It's like, oh, okay. So you have a second car then? Like, what, I don't know, what's that supposed to mean? Yeah. Weird world, man. But things are dramatically changing.
So what kind of things you do with in real life and in Seed's life?
What do
money through Seeds, how then will that translate to my local currency, or can I translate to that local currency? And so having everybody get a card that has a system in place, whether however it's in place, that they use this card. So if I'm in Gambia and I'm doing something that generates a lot of seeds, but my local currency, I don't have a job that's giving me money, or I get a seeds grant, can I then bring people in? So ease of access, that's one point that ease of access or accessibility means to me. That also helps, I think, bridge that cultural divide of cultural seclusion that we're facing, you know, with colors and races and everything, especially here in the States.
And I think we can go even further.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got that. I put it in notes. I think we can go even further with inclusion. That I think it should be inclusion of all species, like plants and animals and everything. That should also be included as like not just as a side effect, but as members of the Constitution, basically.
For sure.
I just want to say amen to that. I'm so for that. Thank you for saying that. That's so important, so beautiful. We just popped in here to get some recording. I'm so happy we caught that, and now we're going to leave again. You guys got about a couple minutes before we all wrap up.
Okay, perfect.
Bye together.
Yeah, to connect with a sense of joy and to keep shining and being radiant because you feel alive and you feel happy. Yeah. When the work gets burdened, that doesn't come so much. All right, so we're closing.
Yep. Thanks a lot.
So who's going to present in the general group?
So just throws everybody right back. That's cool.
Oh, welcome back. Can you guys hear me now? Okay, you can. Excellent. I'll let Anneloes continue facilitating, so I'll just take that hat back off and we can start doing it.
Happy to do it together, Ike. Yes. So how many groups did we have?
We had 7.
7, okay. So do you all remember which group you were in? Otherwise, I was going to say group 1 to 7. So I know that I was in group 1. So I'm hoping you all, when I say group 2, they actually know which group that is. So let's try this. From group 1, well, I suppose I was the one taking the notes. Do you want me to read the notes quickly? Okay. So what we came with is that we realized with these values that we need a very short sentence that we actually make expressive what we mean by those values. And in the moment that we express it in a sentence, we can include also other values. And so some of those values, we felt like there are other kind of sister brother values with it. So there was an addition also of nourishment with care, and the suggestion to change play into playfulness and to add to it that joy, so that you could say we're acting, we're committed to playfulness and acting with joy in our heart, things like that. Love as well. With integrity, the group suggested to have truth added as well, and truthfulness, so commitment towards knowing what is then our true north. And then also with both with responsibility, also to have adaptability there, and weaving into description also flexibility, and also to have in some of the descriptions either value on its own or with it the principle of equanimity, that we, all of us are of equal value, even when there are differences in appearances. So that is from our little group one. Was anything else from group one that you wanted to add before I ask group two to speak? Happy? Okay, wonderful. So who would like to speak for group two? And I will also request that those later we can either send to Reiki or here in the chat that quick summary, and we can harvest that. So from group two, who would like to
Definitely
share?
add it to the chat, and then we'll do it with the write-up that we do for all these calls. Yep.
Brilliant. Okay. So from group two.
I'm not sure if it was us, Nicholas and Nika. Was it us group two?
I think we were number
Yeah,
7.
somebody else.
We were 7, I think.
I guess it was.
That's what I guess.
Maybe we could just popcorn it, and number 7 can go, and we'll just go with whoever's got wisdom to share.
That's it.
Check, see which word. Nicholas, go ahead.
Sorry about that.
Maybe Seb, like Kobe, can talk for us because they had a addition.
Okay. So we thought about compassion within the group. We actually, the whole 10 minutes went only on that word as an addition, almost the whole 10 minutes. And we were kind of thinking
Kobe's
of
coming in a little bit rough
and
for everyone.
how is it related there, and if
So maybe Nick, if you
different.
want to share for it.
I can
actually we realized the risk, we agreed that
We cannot hear you
is
properly.
one thing.
Okay. So yeah.
Okay. Is it better now? Sorry. Is it better now?
Yeah, we'll just move to Nick. He can give the quick summary, and then we'll.
So the quick summary is it was requested to add compassion. And I was asking if that's really a value, but I was convinced that yes, it is a value. We should have compassion in there because our decisions should be based on compassion. And we were just quickly going over all the others, and we were seeing them as well. And it was also suggested that maybe nature first should go in there. I said no, because we are nature, so we don't want to create a separation. And I think that was the summary of our discussion. And if Nika wants to speak too, she can speak too.
No, I just want to mention that when I offered to mention nature in the values somehow, I also said that we are part of nature, but it feels important because now we definitely see some kind of separation in the world around us. So it kind of feels worth to mention nature somehow, that we are, that nature is the key and we are part of this, of course.
Hey, so I guess we'll just go next. So we had a few notes. So we noted that some of the values are maybe a bit similar, like responsibility and integrity and maybe even trust. It could be like a bit condensed maybe. And then, yeah, we also noted that it would be nice to make a sentence for each value to define it a bit more in details, what we actually mean by it. And then what we talked most about was we didn't really see a value that kind of represents inclusion and diversity and accessibility. And by that, we mean easy access for all the people around the globe, and show a culture of care and inclusion as part of the values. And ease of access could be something like ability to use a currency just like you use a credit card anywhere and in any currency around the globe. So it's not just restricted to people in specific countries and so on. And then also we said that inclusion shouldn't just be humans, but also between all species, whether it's plants or animals. So in that sense, it was also including nature, and that, yeah, that was Kenneth's value we want to add. So inclusion. Anything to add?
Okay, we'll go for group 3. So the first thing that Katalin wanted to add was respect. And when we started talking about it, was really in the broad sense of respect for all life. And then we started talking about how these values need to be fully aligned with natural values, or the values that you can find in the universe. And then in this perspective, there are 3 that are missing to us, which is interconnectivity, transparency, and self-determination, knowing that, you know, no one can make a choice. You're the only one who can make your own choices. So self-determination is something that is very important. And then the last thing is the notion of truthfulness that you talked about earlier. Maybe righteousness is a better word for that, because truth is very subjective in itself. So that's all for the remarks that we have, and we'll copy all of this within the chat. Thank you all.
So I thought we were group 3, but we'll be just group 11 or whatever. So we just parsed it out a little bit, and we weren't sure whether it was more in the preamble, but this idea of group minded heartedness first, as we're parsing all the values, collaboration, and then with responsibility, just teasing that out and maybe playing with words and this ability to respond, so responsibility. And I think it might be included in this notion of generosity, but we really wanted to anchor this in as well, which is finding an attitude of altitude. So the highest expression, looking at the highest expression of a situation, of a person, of the constitution, any element of it, and not being mired in a static view of it, and really looking for the best possible expression. And I don't know if Ron or Alexander has anything else to add to that.
I would just add that what I was going to add in the breakout, just as it ended, was that this attitude of altitude, and really all the values and all the things that we are anchoring into the little values preamble, it all requires awareness. So to accomplish, as you were describing in a situation, if I could just put it in my own words, you would find the highest place, if there really is any. These are all kind of artificial distinctions, really, the levels and everything. But in any case, to experience and have that experience amongst ourselves of the altitude requires awareness. It takes awareness, just as it took in the meditation. It takes that same awareness as we move, and And that's why, that's how it becomes a living, evolving system.
Going to put that facilitator hat on and notice that we're 3 minutes over the hour. So let's take 1 more minute for some sharing, unless people feel really inspired. And then I'll do a closeout, and then let's give everyone on their way. Space if anyone else. Paulo, perfect.
Yeah, I can share just briefly the discussion around the group. So first, the idea that eventually there are universal values that cross all cultures and all nations, all wisdom, all sources of wisdom. And I link to a work that that does this. And eventually, this would be the search that we are doing in order to rescue the value of those values. And I think we should write something on this direction. Even if they are not those. And then there's a set of values that we think are useful for playing the game now, because those are the ones that we would need to create the traction that we feel necessary. And making this distinction could be important. And finally, I think that moral so far was the topic, and we were searching for a different word that goes more to the ethos of the values. So it's the permanent acting of the values and reflecting of the values. So it's this search rather than a moral that goes right or wrong, left or right, whatever the case is. So it's more of being true and honoring those values as part of the process, as awareness of what are we valuing when we come through as in a certain direction or express ourselves in a certain way. So it's more that search, and that's a compass, being honoring that search.
All right, I guess I'll just speak on behalf of my group, which is group 4. We actually got the exercise a little bit differently, in the sense that we thought we were just going to look at the one value that was highlighted for us, which was play. And then came in passion, play, and purpose. But there was also a notion of how purpose actually still points to how there needs to be something that we need to attain, and it's not there yet. So play, in a way, is regenerative because it is joyful energy generated, put out from the heart, and that is then what you'll receive. So it's like, you know, whatever you get back, you receive. And if we want to bring positive, happy energy into this world, so into the monetary stream, that's what we'll have to generate for ourselves. So there's this thing about radiance and how to be really connected to our own hearts and our own inner joy. And yeah, from that sense on, I think safety is also a very important one, because if we want to play and we want to be joyful and we want to generate our light and we want to radiate, then we got to feel safe in order to open ourselves up in that way. And walking or talk, yeah, exactly. Integrity, I love that one. Acting like that.
Thank you. Wow, a lot of incredible wisdom here. I'll just jump into this really quickly because this is Article 11, which is what we're doing now, and also what we're going to make sure that we continue to cultivate, and that is our dedication to collective wisdom. So if there's any last thoughts that you want to make sure are being captured, please leave them in the chat group now, because they'll be put into the article write-up that we'll make for this. But what I really ask everyone to do is, these calls are incredible for grounding out all of this wisdom, but how we ground it into reality is putting it onto the document. So please come here, leave your thoughts about what values need to be added, what sentences should explain these values, etc. And I'll do my best to collate it and, you know, ground that collective wisdom into one framework. I am sensing that we're going to do another one of these calls, and we're going to change the time so that other time zones can accommodate, and then we'll take it from there. So thank you all so much for attending this. I'm just thoroughly enjoying these sessions and all the wisdom that comes through, but please don't just leave it at this, and let's continue the conversation on the document. So without me having the last word, maybe I'll pass it to Anneloes. Thank you, and I love you all. Thank you. That's me.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone. My last words are just have fun, have a great day or evening wherever you are, and looking forward to play again next time.
Yes.
Thank you. Bye.
Everyone.
Bye.
Thank you,
Thank
Anneloes.
you.
Thanks,
Bye
Reiki.
bye.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.